I knew the day was going to be a complete disaster when the main server room hummed a low B flat instead of its usual C. You spend 22 years listening to fans spin and hard drives grind, and you start to hear the music of catastrophe before the first ticket even hits the help desk. I'm Wesley Patterson, 48 years old, and I've been keeping this company's digital heart beating since dial-up was still a thing. Started in the Navy working on shipboard computers, then moved into corporate IT when I got tired of eating MREs and sleeping on steel bunks. 22 years of keeping the lights on, servers running, and databases humming. I was elbow deep in a rack mount, cable ties between my teeth, smelling like ozone and static electricity when the door banged open. It wasn't the respectful knock of someone locked out of their email. It was the entitled slam of Italian leather shoes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Enter Lance Patterson. Yeah, same last name, but we're not related. This guy's the owner's son, and his entire personality could be summed up by his crypto wallet balance and a hairline retreating faster than his work ethic. Trailing behind him, clinging to his arm like expensive jewelry, was her. Let's call her Crystal. She was wearing enough beige linen to upholster a dentist's waiting room and holding an iced matcha latte like it contained the secrets of the universe. "Wesley!" Lance barked, his voice cracking mid-syllable. He was trying to sound authoritative but came across like a poodle yapping at a garbage truck. "We need to talk. Now." I slowly extracted myself from the server rack, dusting off the gray lint that accumulates in these windowless caverns. I didn't rush. If there's one thing 22 years in IT teaches you, it's that panic is for people who don't have backups. Plus, I could smell trouble coming like a storm front moving in. I checked my watch. 10:14 a.m. My caffeine levels were critically low, and my patience was non-existent. "Morning, Lance," I said, keeping my voice flat as yesterday's soda. "Unless the building's on fire or your dad finally decided to upgrade us off Windows 7, I'm busy. The authentication bridge is acting like a moody teenager after a breakup." Lance waved his hand dismissively, like the backbone of the company's digital existence was a fly he could swat away. "Forget the bridge. This is about vision, synergy, the aesthetic of the workplace." He gestured around my office, my sanctuary. It wasn't pretty, I'll give him that. Utilitarian box filled with blinking lights, half-eaten bags of pretzels, and a wall of monitors that looked like mission control for a space launch. The carpet was that industrial gray that hides coffee stains, and the air had that distinctive smell of warm electronics and broken dreams. But it was mine. It was the nerve center where I kept this whole operation from falling apart. "Crystal here," Lance paused, realizing he hadn't introduced her properly. Crystal is joining our team as our new vibe curator, and she needs a space that reflects clarity. Vibe curator. I let the words roll around in my mouth like a bad piece of seafood. Had to be some kind of record for the most useless job title in corporate history. "Is that a position?" I asked. "Or did we just run out of ways to burn money?" "It's crucial for morale," Crystal piped up, her voice like auditory glitter, sparkly but ultimately annoying. "And this room has the best feng shui. The lack of windows really grounds the energy, but all these buzzing boxes have to go." She pointed at the main server stack, the one running payroll, the logistics database, and the client portal. I laughed. It was a dry, rusty sound, like a gate that hadn't been oiled in years. "Those buzzing boxes are the reason your boyfriend can afford those shoes, sweetheart. You unplug those, and this company stops existing in about 4 seconds flat." Lance stepped forward, puffed up like a bullfrog who'd found a protein powder stash. His chest swelled with inherited authority. "That's exactly the attitude I'm talking about, Wesley. You're a relic. You're blocking the flow. We need fresh energy. Digital nomads who understand the cloud." "I built the cloud you're using," I said, my eyes narrowing to slits. "I configured those VPNs while you were still failing basic algebra. I wrote half the scripts that keep this place running, and that's why this conversation is going to be real easy." The temperature in the room seemed to drop about 10 degrees. Crystal stopped sipping her matcha. Lance's confident expression flickered like a bad network connection. "What do you mean, easy?" Lance asked, but his voice had lost some of its swagger. I just smiled. Not a friendly smile. More like the expression a shark makes right before lunch. "You'll see." Lance cleared his throat, trying to regain his momentum. "Look, Wesley, change is hard. I get it. But we're evolving. The old ways of doing things, they're not sustainable in today's market. We need to be agile, responsive, innovative. He was speaking in corporate buzzword bingo. Every sentence was a cliché wrapped in management speak. I'd heard this speech before from a dozen different suits who thought they could revolutionize a business they didn't understand. Sustainable, I repeated. You know what's not sustainable, Lance? Firing the guy who keeps your million-dollar infrastructure from turning into very expensive paperweights. Who said anything about firing? Lance asked, but his eyes were already calculating something behind those designer glasses. The silence stretched out like a bad connection. Outside, I could hear the normal sounds of office life. Phones ringing, printers humming, people actually working instead of discussing energy flows and workplace aesthetics. Inside this room, though, you could cut the tension with a network cable. That's when Lance dropped his bomb. "I'm letting you go," Lance said, dropping the words like he was announcing the weather. "Effective immediately. Crystal needs this office by noon for meditation alignment. Pack your stuff." The silence that followed was heavy enough to crash a server. You could smell the burning bridges, mixed with Crystal's overpriced perfume and the ozone from overworked cooling fans. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the arrogance of a man who'd never had to reboot a router at 3 a.m. on a Sunday. I saw the stupidity of someone playing with a loaded gun, thinking it was a water pistol. Most of all, I saw a kid who'd never learned that actions have consequences. Then this strange calm washed over me. It was the icy clarity you get when a system finally crashes and you realize you've been expecting it all along. "You're firing me?" I asked, just to get it on the record. My voice was steady, professional. "For cause or just because you want to turn the server room into a yoga studio?" "Restructuring," Lance said, using the corporate buzzword like a shield. "We're pivoting to a managed service provider. Cheaper, faster, less you." This is where most people would scream. They'd cry, they'd throw a monitor across the room. But when you've been doing this job long enough, you learn that sometimes the loudest scream is silence. "Okay," I said. Lance blinked like someone had just slapped him. Crystal stopped chewing her eco-friendly straw. They were expecting a fight. They wanted the drama. They wanted me to be the hysterical middle-aged man so they could justify their cruelty with stories about my toxic attitude. "Okay?" Lance asked, suspicious now. His voice went up half an octave. "You're the boss," I shrugged, like we were discussing lunch plans instead of my livelihood. I reached over to my desk, picked up my battered leather messenger bag, and swept my personal effects into it. Framed photo of my fishing boat. Stress ball shaped like a grenade, a gift from the Navy buddies who understood the particular kind of warfare that is corporate IT. Half-empty pack of nicotine gum that I'd been using to quit smoking for about the 5th time. "If you want me gone, I'm gone. I assume HR will mail my final check." Yeah," Lance stammered, clearly thrown off by my lack of resistance. He'd probably practiced this conversation in the mirror, prepared for tears or threats or desperate bargaining. What he hadn't prepared for was complete cooperation. "Security will escort you out." "No need," I said, slipping on my cardigan. It was gray and shapeless, my armor of invisibility that had served me well in countless corporate battles. "I know the way. I installed the badge readers, remember? Back when you thought cybersecurity was something you bought on Amazon." I walked past them, close enough to smell Crystal's perfume, something floral and cloying, like a funeral home trying too hard to mask the smell of death. I paused at the door, hand on the handle. Behind me, the servers hummed their ominous B-flat drone, like a funeral march for my career. "One tip, Lance," I said, looking back over my shoulder. "Don't touch the blue cable, or the red one. Actually, just don't touch anything at all. Good luck with the vibe." I walked out into the hallway, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry wasps. People looked up from their cubicles. Dawn from accounting, her reading glasses perched on her nose. Rodney from logistics, coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips. They saw me walking out with my bag at 10:20 a.m. They saw the set of my jaw, the careful control in my movements. They knew something was very, very wrong. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't warn them. I just walked to the elevator like a man heading to church, pressed the button, and waited. Lance thought he was cleaning house. He thought he was taking out the trash, making room for his girlfriend's Instagram-worthy workspace. What he didn't realize was that he was pulling the pin on a grenade I'd been holding for 8 months. A grenade with a very specific timer. He wanted my office. He could have it. But he was about to discover that the office wasn't really the room. The office was me, my knowledge, my access codes, my biometric signatures, and I was leaving the building. The elevator dinged like a countdown timer. I stepped in. The doors closed, sealing me off from the circus upstairs. I watched the numbers count down. 4, 3, 2, 1, lobby, freedom. But not quite yet. I had one more stop to make before the real show started. The air outside smelled like exhaust fumes and possibility. I walked to my 2014 Ford F-150, threw my bag in the passenger seat, and pulled out my phone. Propped it against my half-empty Dunkin' cup, black coffee, no sugar, because some things in life should be straightforward. I opened the stopwatch app. The screen showed waiting for me to start the countdown to Lance's education. I hit start. Most people think it is about fixing printers and resetting passwords for people who can't remember their pet's name. They think we're the janitors of the digital world, mopping up messes and replacing broken parts. They don't see the invisible web that holds everything together, the precarious lattice of logic and permissions that keeps a modern company from dissolving into complete chaos. Lance certainly didn't see it. To him, I was just some middle-aged guy in a gray cardigan who made the computers work by magic. He saw blinking lights in a room he could repaint sage green for Crystal's meditation videos. He saw an obstacle to his vision of a workplace where healing crystals were more important than cooling systems. What he didn't see was the trap I'd been setting for 8 months. What he didn't know was that firing me without following proper procedures was like cutting the wrong wire on a bomb. He was about to get a very expensive lesson in why you don't mess with the guy who built your digital foundation. Let me rewind and tell you about the incident 8 months ago. That's when this whole beautiful disaster really started. The company had been hit by a ransomware attack that nearly nuked our entire database. Chinese hackers, we think. Could have been script kiddies in a basement somewhere for all it mattered. They got in because the previous admin, a guy Lance hired because they met at some crypto meetup, had left the admin password as password 123. I wish I was joking. The attack happened on a Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning, every screen in the building was showing a skull and crossbones with a message in broken English demanding 50 bitcoins. The accounting files were encrypted. The customer database was locked. Even the coffee machine stopped working because some genius had put it on the same network as everything else. Howard Patterson, Lance's dad and the actual owner, came to me that morning looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight, sweating through his $2,000 suit, hands shaking as he drank his 4th cup of coffee. "Wesley," he'd said, voice cracking like his son's, but for different reasons. "Lock it down. Make it bulletproof. I don't care what it costs, what you have to do. Just make sure nobody, and I mean nobody, can get in unless they're supposed to be there." So I did exactly what he asked. I rebuilt the authentication protocol from scratch. Didn't use standard off-the-shelf garbage that any kid with a computer science degree could crack. I wrote a custom system, paranoid, aggressive, trust-no-one architecture that I called Fortress. Fortress wasn't just a password system. It was like having a digital bouncer with a very bad attitude and perfect memory. Biometric scanners, encrypted tokens, time-based authentication that changed every few minutes. The kind of security you'd expect at a nuclear facility, not a mid-sized supply company. And because I'm not an idiot, and because I've been screwed over by corporate suits more times than I could count, I had a very specific clause inserted into my contract for that rebuild, a contract that Lance definitely hadn't read, a contract currently sitting in a fireproof safe in my garage, not buried in some HR filing cabinet where it could mysteriously disappear. I watched the stopwatch on my phone tick past 4 minutes. By now, Lance would be moving Crystal's yoga mat into the corner where my spare monitor used to sit. He'd probably already unplugged something important, maybe yanked that Cat6 cable labeled uplink because it clashed with the feng shui energy flow. The system I built was designed to check in every 12 minutes, like a heartbeat but digital. It looks for a specific encrypted token that's tied to my active session. Not just any session, my session, authenticated with my biometrics and tied to my employee status in the HR database. If that token disappears, if my session terminates without the proper offboarding sequence, a sequence that takes 2 hours and requires 3 different passwords, 2 physical keys, and a signed form from the CEO. Fortress assumes the worst. It assumes hostile takeover. It assumes the admin has been compromised or removed by force. corporate espionage, cyber warfare, the kind of scenarios that keep security experts awake at night. And Fortress doesn't negotiate with terrorists. Even if the terrorist is the owner's son with a trust fund and a dream of turning the server room into a wellness center. 07:15 on my stopwatch. I lit a cigarette. Don't smoke much anymore, mostly just when I'm drinking or watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. Today definitely qualified as disaster weather. I cracked the window and let the smoke curl out into the damp November air. From my truck I could see the office building, 3rd floor, my old window. I saw a silhouette moving behind the blinds. Lance, probably high-fiving himself for taking charge, for finally cleaning house and bringing some modern thinking to this old-fashioned company. He had no idea that the servers behind him were currently running their own countdown sequence, their own little doomsday clock, ticking towards zero with mathematical precision. You see, when Lance fired me, HR being the efficient little drones they are, immediately flipped my status to terminated in the payroll system. Standard procedure, clean and simple, just like Lance wanted. Here's the beautiful part, the part that was going to cost Lance more money than his car. I'd integrated the HR payroll status directly into the Fortress security protocol. The moment my status changed from active to terminated, the system woke up like a sleeping guard dog hearing footsteps. Fortress saw the discrepancy immediately. Admin status, gone. Session tokens, invalid. Proper offboarding sequence, not initiated. Security protocols, violated. Threat level, midnight. 09:45 on my stopwatch. My phone sat silent on the dashboard, but that silence was more beautiful than any symphony. It was the calm before the storm, the moment of perfect stillness before the avalanche. I imagined what was happening inside right now. Dawn in accounting trying to save a spreadsheet before lunch, Rodney in logistics, scanning barcodes for a shipment of HVAC units going to some office building in Cleveland. The receptionist fielding calls from customers who had no idea their supplier was about to go dark. Normal people doing normal work, completely unaware that their digital world was about to shut down harder than a submarine taking on water. 11 o'clock. 1 minute left on the countdown. I took a long drag of my cigarette. The nicotine hit my bloodstream like a reassuring pat on the back from an old friend. "You did good, Wesley," I whispered to myself through the smoke. "You did exactly what they paid you to do. You secured the hell out of this system." I wasn't being malicious. I wasn't some disgruntled hacker taking revenge on the world. I was a professional following the protocols I'd been hired to implement. The protocols said that if the pilot jumps out of the cockpit mid-flight without following proper handover procedures, you lock the controls to prevent the plane from crashing into a mountain. Lance had just jumped out of the plane, and Fortress was about to take control. 11:58, 11:59, 12 Hunquak, showtime. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree at midnight. The ringtone wasn't my usual default. It was the specific jarring alarm I'd assigned to work emergencies. The name on the screen, Lance, do not answer. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. Then I picked it up, put it on speaker, and set it back on the dashboard. I didn't say hello, just waited. "Wesley!" It wasn't a word. It was a shriek. The primal noise of a man who'd just looked into the digital abyss and seen it giving him the finger. "Wesley, what the hell did you do?" I smiled. Not a big grin, just a small, satisfied expression, like a fisherman who'd just felt something big bite his line. "I'm no longer an employee, Lance," I said, my voice smooth as aged whiskey. "Please direct all inquiries to the help desk." "Oh, wait. You fired the help desk." "The screens!" he screamed. I could picture him standing in my old office, probably sweating through that expensive shirt. All the screens are red and there's this giant eye staring at me. Why is the server asking for a Retina scan? I leaned back in my seat, watching smoke drift toward the windshield. A Retina scan? Huh. That's interesting. Why is it asking for an eye? Lance's voice cracked like he was 13 years old again. I could hear the background noise now. Complete chaos. Phones ringing with no one to answer them. People shouting, "What happened to my computer?" The distinct beep, beep, beep of backup power supplies kicking in because Fortress had severed the main power connections to protect the hardware from tampering. "It's not just any eye, Lance," I said, picking a piece of lint off my jeans. "It's biometric authentication, military-grade security protocol. I installed it after the Chinese hack. Remember? Your dad insisted on bulletproof security. I don't care about China. I can't log in. Crystal can't log in. She was trying to check her Instagram and the computer locked her out completely. Crystal doesn't have security clearance, Lance. Why was she touching a network terminal? I asked, letting genuine concern creep into my voice. That's a serious violation of the acceptable use policy. The system interprets unauthorized users as hostile intruders. Just fix it, he demanded, his voice going up another octave. Come back up here and fix it right now. Can't do that, I said simply. You fired me, remember? I'm currently sitting in my truck, officially unemployed, and technically if I were to access those servers now without authorization, I'd be committing corporate espionage. Federal crime. I don't look good in orange jumpsuits. I'll rehire you. Just come up here. It's not that simple anymore, Lance. The system's entered what we call fortress mode. It's a fail-safe. When the primary administrator, that was me, gets terminated without proper cryptographic handover protocols, Fortress assumes the company has been compromised. It locks down everything. Database, email servers, warehouse inventory controls, even the electronic door locks. Door locks? His voice dropped an octave, going from panicked to genuinely scared. Yeah, the magnetic locks on the warehouse doors. They fail safe to the locked position to prevent inventory theft during cyber attacks. Hope the guys in the warehouse are okay. Might get a little stuffy in there without the ventilation system running. You locked people in? I didn't do anything, Lance. You did. You fired the pilot mid-flight without following safety protocols. The system's just doing exactly what it was programmed to do. Protect the company assets by any means necessary. There was silence on the line. Then I heard Crystal in the background, her voice high and panicky. Lance, my phone won't connect to the Wi-Fi and the coffee machine stopped working. Is this because of negative energy in the building? I almost laughed out loud. The coffee machine was IoT-enabled, connected to the same network segment as the printers for easy maintenance. Fortress had killed that port along with everything else. No internet, no caffeine, no Instagram. The trifecta of modern workplace disasters. Wesley, Lance said, trying to sound reasonable but coming across like a man bargaining for his life. You need to come up here, scan your eye, and unlock this system, or I'm calling the police. Go ahead, I challenged him. Please do. I'd love to explain to the cops why you fired the only person who knows how to run your $1 million infrastructure because you wanted to turn the server room into a meditation studio for your girlfriend. I paused, letting that sink in. But before you make that call, you might want to look at the main screen again. See that countdown timer? I heard shuffling, then a sharp intake of breath. It says 59 minutes remaining. What does that mean? That's the data purge failsafe, Lance. The what? If the biometric scan isn't provided within 60 minutes of a lockdown event, Fortress assumes the physical hardware is being stolen or tampered with. It initiates a complete cryptographic wipe. Doesn't just delete the data, it shreds it. Overwrites every hard drive with random zeros 7 times over. Turns your client database, your accounts receivable, and your dad's precious intellectual property into expensive doorstops. You're bluffing, he whispered, but there was no conviction in his voice. Am I? You know how paranoid your dad got after that hack. He told me himself. If this company goes down, it goes down with all secrets intact. I was just following his direct orders. How do I stop it? You can't. Not without the authenticated biometrics of the senior systems administrator. That was me. But according to your HR department, I'm just another unemployed IT guy now. My Retina scan is no longer in the authorized user database. So we're screwed? You're screwed, I corrected him. I'm going to grab some lunch. Got a sudden craving for a burger and fries. Wait! Don't hang up. You've got 58 minutes, Lance. I suggest you call your father. Maybe Crystal can fix this with her healing crystals and positive vibes. I hung up and sat back in my seat. My heart was pounding, but not from fear. From the pure adrenaline rush of watching a perfect plan unfold exactly as designed. The data purge was mostly a bluff. Fortress wouldn't actually destroy everything, just the local encryption keys. The real backups were safe in an off-site facility. I wasn't a monster, just a professional who believed in proper procedures. But restoring from those backups would take weeks. Weeks where they couldn't ship a single product or bill a single customer. Weeks of explaining to clients why their orders were delayed because the boss's son wanted better feng shui. I knew Lance wouldn't call his father immediately, Too proud, too stubborn. He'd try to fix it himself first, maybe call some more tech support services. He'd waste precious minutes trying to hack a system I'd designed to be unhackable. That was exactly what I was counting on. I put the truck in drive but didn't go far, just across the street to the strip mall where I parked in front of a Dollar General and settled in to watch the show. From here, I had a perfect view of the building where Lance was probably having the worst day of his privileged life. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Lance, it was Dawn from accounting. I let it go to voicemail, then Rodney from logistics, also voicemail, then the main office number. They were starting to understand the scope of what had just happened. Time to make a phone call of my own. I scrolled through my contacts and found the number I needed, Howard Patterson's direct line, the real boss, the man who'd hired me to build an unbreakable system and who was about to discover that his son had just broken the one rule that couldn't be broken. The phone rang twice before he picked up. Howard, it's Wesley. We need to talk. And you're going to want to sit down for this conversation. Howard picked up on the second ring. Wesley? What the hell is going on? I've got 3 fire trucks in my parking lot and a traffic jam that's probably visible from space. Your son just violated federal labor law and DoD security protocols, I said, keeping my voice level. He fired the primary systems administrator without following proper offboarding procedures. Fortress interpreted it as a hostile takeover and locked down everything. There was a long pause. Then a sound I'd never heard from Howard Patterson before. Genuine fear. How bad is it? Bad enough that you've got warehouse workers locked in, trucks blocking highways, and about 12 minutes before the system starts wiping encryption keys. Your insurance company is going to love explaining this to the Department of Labor. Jesus Christ. I heard ice clinking in a glass. Howard was pouring himself something strong. What do you need? I need my job back. But not as an employee, Howard. Employees get fired because their office has good feng shui. I want to be Chief Information Officer, reporting directly to you. Contract basis, non-revocable for 12 months. Done. What else? Lance doesn't get to talk to me, email me, or look at me funny. He wants IT support. He submits a ticket like everyone else in the building. Also done. Anything else? $275 an hour, $8,000 monthly retainer. And Lance works loading dock for the next 6 months. He needs to learn what actual work looks like. Howard laughed, but it was a grim sound. You're expensive, Wesley. I'm cheaper than bankruptcy. Fair point. How long do I have? I checked my watch. 11 minutes until data purge. I can be there in 8. Drive fast. I hung up and started the truck. The drive back to the office felt different this time. When I left 2 hours ago, I was Wesley from IT, the guy in the gray cardigan who people only noticed when their printers jammed. Now I was a line item on the budget that cost more than a luxury car. The parking lot looked like a disaster movie. Fire trucks, police cars, and a news van that had somehow gotten wind of the story. I walked through the chaos like Moses parting the Red Sea, badge readers clicking open at my approach because Fortress still recognized my biometrics even in lockdown mode. Inside, the building was mayhem. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red. People stood around in groups, looking lost. Dawn from accounting spotted me first. Wesley! Thank God. Can you fix this? I just nodded and kept walking. Had work to do. Lance was standing in the hallway outside my office, looking like someone had kicked his dog and stolen his lunch money. His expensive shirt was soaked with sweat, his hair was a mess, and Crystal was nowhere to be seen. She dumped me, he said as I walked past. His voice was small, defeated. Right there in the parking lot. Said my aura was too chaotic for her personal brand. I stopped and looked at him, really looked at him. 2 hours ago, he'd been the king of his little corporate kingdom. Now he was just another employee who'd screwed up badly enough to make the local news. That's rough, Lance, I said. And I meant it. He was an idiot. But he was a human idiot. Maybe you can work on that aura while you're loading trucks. I walked into my office. My office. The servers were humming their distressed B-flat, red warning lights blinking like angry eyes. On the main monitor, Fortress lockdown, 09 minutes remaining. I sat down at my console, rolled my chair forward, and placed my chin on the biometric scanner rest. A beam of green light swept across my left retina, then my right. Biometric scan complete. Identity confirmed. Wesley Patterson, Chief Information Officer. Welcome back, Administrator. The screens shifted from angry red to calm blue. Cooling fans spun up to full speed. Across the building, I could hear the electronic locks clicking open, the ventilation system starting up, computers booting back to life. Fortress protocol disengaged. Normal operations resumed. Total downtime, 2 hours, 17 minutes. Estimated cost, $127,000 in lost productivity. Lance appeared in my doorway. So, we're good now? I spun around in my chair and looked at him. We are good, Lance. You are banned from this room. You need IT support. You submit a ticket through the portal like everyone else, and you better hope I'm feeling helpful that day. By 2:30 p.m., the building had returned to something resembling normal, which is to say, everyone was frantically trying to catch up on 2 hours of lost work while pretending they hadn't just witnessed the most expensive corporate temper tantrum in company history. Howard arrived at 3 o'clock, walking straight to my office with a leather folder under his arm. He set it on my desk without a word, my new contract, already signed. Then he shook my hand like we'd just closed a major business deal, which, in a way, we had. Lance will be in the warehouse tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., he said. Rodney's going to teach him how to operate a forklift. I nodded. Good. Physical work builds character. And Crystal? Gone. Apparently, my son's energy became incompatible with her vision the moment she realized he didn't actually run anything. Howard left, and I was alone with my humming servers and my new nameplate that someone had already placed on my desk. Wesley Patterson, Chief Information Officer. I leaned back in my chair and looked around my domain. It was still ugly. Still a windowless box filled with blinking lights and cable management that would give a perfectionist nightmares. But it was mine, and now everyone in the building knew it. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't a villain. I was just the systems administrator who'd proven something that every IT professional knows but rarely gets to demonstrate. Don't mess with the guy who holds the keys to your digital kingdom, because sometimes the kingdom fights back.